Hello everyone! Thunderobot has finally joined the tension adjustable sticks club with a G80TS controller. Ergonomically, it is the same as the Xbox Series X controller, lacking only a few features like the headphone jack. But instead, they give you back buttons and trigger stoppers. This controller is super lightweight, with only 224 grams. For comparison, my Xbox controller has 267, but it has the RetroFlag battery pack, which is a bit heavier. And my DualSense has 281 grams. The Switch Pro controller has 242. The paint finish is a bit of a fingerprint magnet, and it doesn't absorb the sweat like the Switch 2 Pro controller. And that's just around the grips. This doesn't happen on the top of the controller where the paint is faded. The grips are made of plastic, and the trigger stoppers will just stop the trigger without a clicky feedback. The back buttons are responsive, and they're in the perfect position. Actually, the position is the same as the FlyDigi controllers. We have membrane face buttons here, but these face buttons are pretty good. The travel distance and resistance is well tuned. It's slightly lighter than the Xbox controller, and the buttons won't sink flat when fully pressed. For the analog sticks, we have a metal shaft, and unfortunately we won't have the internal restriction like the others. The shaft does hit the external rings, and this makes it a bit rougher. As for the adjustment rings, these are the best I've seen so far. They're not only smooth, but they have a tactile feedback, and this helps you tweak the two sticks equally. Also, thanks to that extra tactility, the stick is much less looser in the lowest tension. The D-pad is fully mechanical, and it's a bit elevated. It is made of plastic, and it is removable too. You also get an extra D-pad. When turned on, the controller reveals the colored face buttons. And this lever here changes the button layout in real time. And notice that if you move the lever 95%, the button swap won't happen. The swapping only occurs when the lever hits the dead end of the travel. And it actually locks itself in place when it reaches the end. To move it, you have to push it in a bit. The light of the buttons can also be reduced or turned off completely. The shutter buttons are pretty good, and they make a moderate noise. And the trigger stoppers will stop the triggers at around 50%. it cannot wake up the switch too, but it is compatible with the console. But it can wake up the Switch one and it has motion controls. And impressively, it has HD rumble too. This controller is also compatible with the Keylinker app, and you can use it without disconnecting the controller to adjust the settings on the go. The dongle is pretty small, and I like it a lot because when you connect to your laptop, it barely leaves anything sticking out. For the connection modes, we have X input, then we have D input, and finally we have the switch mode. This gives you access to the gyro sensors. Testing the analog sticks, on the default settings we have a small dead zone in the center. There's no cardinal snapping, and there is an hour dead zone too. The circularity is perfect, and the resolution is very close to 2000 steps. And you can disable the center dead zones through the app if you want. The D-pad is pretty great, the diagonals are easy to press, and the input is consistent. The center pivot is quite solid and it won't hit all 4 switches. Here's the sensitivity of the triggers. And remapping the back buttons is super easy to do with a button combination. You can also remap a single button press or a button combo. There is a turbo mode with a toggle function, and the turbo speed is adjustable. Before disassembling, let's take a look at the unboxing. The disassembly is super easy. You have only 4 screws in the back. The back shell is pretty okay and well constructed. The battery has 1200 milliamps of capacity, and here's a look at the HD rumble motors. There's no brand, just a number on the bottom. This tiny rubber piece here actually is not from this button. It stays in the back buttons. This switch here isn't connected to anything because their purpose is only to give the tactile feedback for the adjustment rings. The triggers have a metal pivot, and here we can see the buttons that activates the button swap. The analog stick modules are the same as the Keylinker 40. But here the construction is more polished. The rings has a lot of lube inside. The D-pad has mechanical switches installed under this plastic structure. And here's the other side of the shell. Checking the face buttons, it has a similar construction to the Gamester Tarantula Pro. But inside, it has no gears at all. The button layout is painted over the plastic. You can probably scratch it and make another button layout with black tape. And finally, I performed a lag test with a GPDL software. And the final results is not the best. The average latency is already average, and the maximum latency is a bit too high. For my final thoughts, I really like this controller. The analog sticks, D-pad and buttons are very solid and feels quite nice. The controller is very easy to use with the button combination to remap the back buttons, or by using the Keylinker app without having to disconnect the controller. The button swapping functionality is pretty fast too. On PC, it has all of the connection modes you need, and it has HD rumble too, making this the only controller with tension adjustments for the analog sticks and HD rumble at the same time. The biggest con is the latency test. If the average latency was a bit lower, it would be a 9 out of 10. And that's it for today. The links to the G80TS are in the description of this video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.